Chosen one, without lifting a finger, you just made a beast look like a lamb, stripped of teeth, stripped of terror, exposed in daylight. While you were simply existing in truth, an entire empire of fear collapsed. Your existence rewrites everything. There are people who have built entire kingdoms on being the loudest roar in the jungle, the most intimidating presence, the one everyone fears. These people have perfected the art of making others smaller so they appear bigger. When they demand, everyone obeys. When they roar, everyone scatters. This beast persona keeps people under control, keeps people afraid, keeps people submissive, until you showed up and the whole illusion shattered like glass hitting concrete. There's someone in your life, maybe at work, maybe in your family, maybe in your social circle. This person has been roaring at people for years, making demands, creating fear. Everyone walks on eggshells around them. Everyone has accepted this is just how things are. This person is a beast, and beasts get their way. That's the rules. That's reality. That's the game. This beast looks at you, prepares to roar like always, puffs up their chest, gets ready to intimidate, expects you to shrink back like everyone else does, but you don't. Not because you're trying to be defiant, not because you're being rebellious, not because you're trying to prove anything, simply because their frequency doesn't affect you. Your vibration doesn't sync with their manipulation tactics. You're operating on a completely different level, and their tricks don't work in that dimension. So what happens? The roar gets stuck in their throat. When they try to project strength, all that comes out is weakness, right there in front of everyone. This person who has terrorized people for years, who controlled through fear, who maintained power through intimidation, shrivels down to exactly what they've always been underneath the performance. A lamb, and everybody saw it. That's the crucial part. This wasn't private. This wasn't one-on-one. This happened in front of witnesses. People who have been afraid for so long just watched the beast become a lamb. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Your energy said no without you speaking. Your aura set boundaries without you drawing lines. Your essence established authority without you making claims. That's real power. That's what happens when someone genuinely rooted shows up in a space full of performers. But here's what's really been happening beneath the surface. Something everyone is just now starting to realize. You've been underestimated for years. People looked at you and made assumptions. They called your kindness weakness. They called your patience ignorance. They called your silence stupidity. Everyone thought they had you figured out, thought you didn't understand what was happening, thought you were naive, clueless, just floating through life without awareness. And you let them think that. You didn't correct anyone. Didn't argue with their assessment. You just kept observing, kept documenting, kept filing information away, because here's what they missed while they were busy underestimating you. Your mind was working the entire time. Your brain was a supercomputer, running calculations, gathering data, organizing files. Every conversation, every interaction, every incident, you were taking mental screenshots. You documented dates and times. You remembered details everyone assumed you'd forget. They mistook your silence for absence of knowledge. But you weren't silent because you didn't understand. You were silent because you understood perfectly. You saw through every game. You recognized every manipulation. You identified every pattern. You just chose not to react the way everyone expected, and that made them comfortable, made them careless, made them think their behavior could continue without consequence. Now they're realizing the truth, and it's keeping them up at night. If you saw everything, if you understood everything, if you documented everything, then what else do you know? What files do you have saved? What information have you been holding? These questions are eating them alive. You're like a lion who was observing hyenas the whole time. Everyone thought you were just another animal in the grassland. Nobody realized you were apex. Nobody realized you were taking notes. Nobody realized that every moment they spent underestimating you was a moment you spent understanding them completely. For some of you, this goes all the way back to childhood. People have been misreading you your whole life, treating you like you don't get it, talking over you, dismissing you, excluding you from conversations because they assumed you wouldn't understand anyway. But you understood. You always understood. You were just gathering information, building awareness, strengthening perception. Now as an adult you're walking into rooms with decades of stored wisdom, observed patterns, documented evidence. You're walking in with receipts, and the people who thought they were playing you are realizing you were studying them. The people who thought they were ahead are understanding you were watching them. The people who thought they were getting away with everything are panicking about what you actually know, and that panic is turning into something dark. There's someone who is absolutely obsessed with you right now. Not obsessed in a flattering way, obsessed in a dangerous way. This person cannot stop thinking about you, cannot stop strategizing about you, cannot stop running scenarios about you. Because you disrupted their entire operation just by existing. You exposed their fraudulent power just by being authentic. And now this person is consumed with figuring out how to regain what they lost, how to repair what you damaged, how to silence what you revealed. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can see it. They built their whole identity on being the beast. They needed fear from others. They required submission. Everyone had to believe in their untouchable, unmovable, unstoppable power. That's not just their reputation. That's their entire sense of self. That's how they define their worth. That's how they measure their value. And you walked in and shattered that illusion without even trying, without attempting to challenge anyone, without coming to compete. You were just being you. And that was enough to dismantle everything they built over years. Now they spend sleepless nights thinking about you, planning moves, trying to figure out how to neutralize a threat that isn't even trying to be threatening, because you're not attacking anyone, not plotting against anyone, just living your life, and somehow that's more dangerous to them than any direct confrontation could ever be. Let me break down the difference between what you carry and what they perform. This is crucial for you to understand. Your power is intimidating because it's real. Their power is intimidating because it's loud. Massive difference. Real power doesn't need announcement, doesn't need validation, doesn't need witnesses. It just is. That's quantum level, that's spiritual realm, that's undeniable truth. Fake power needs constant reinforcement, needs regular demonstrations, needs continuous proof. The beast has to keep roaring to remind people of their beast status, has to keep intimidating to maintain control, has to keep performing to sustain the illusion. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to show up. Think about it like this. On the outside, you might be calm, quiet, unassuming, might be physically smaller, might be softer spoken, might be more reserved. But in the spirit realm, you're a warrior with divine authority. You're surrounded by angels, backed by heaven, carrying the light of the divine itself. And people feel that. They might not articulate it, might not consciously understand it, but they sense it. They know something is different about you. They feel the weight of what you carry, even if they can't explain it. This beast person, on the outside they look big and scary, they talk loud, they act aggressive, they project dominance, but in the spirit realm, a frightened lamb, empty, powerless, operating on fumes and facade. So when you walk into the room, there's a spiritual mismatch. The physical says one thing, but the spiritual says something completely different. And the spiritual realm always wins, always, every single time without exception. That's why they transformed into a lamb in your presence. The spiritual reality overrode the physical performance. Your genuine power exposed their fraudulent power. Your authentic strength revealed their manufactured strength. Your real authority dismantled their fake authority. They felt themselves shrinking. They experienced their power draining. They knew their control was slipping away like water through fingers. And in that moment they understood that if it ever came down to real confrontation, the outcome was already decided, not because you're more aggressive, Not because you're meaner, not because you're willing to go lower, but because you're connected to something they can't access. You're plugged into a power source they don't even believe exists. You're operating with backing they can't comprehend. After you exposed them, something happened. They went into crisis mode. You made them look like a lamb in front of everyone, and that cannot stand. Their entire reputation was built on being feared. Their whole identity was wrapped up in being the beast. So now they have to overcompensate. This is the tower moment. Everything they built is crumbling, and they're desperately trying to reconstruct it. But the foundation is broken now. Once people see truth, you can't make them unsee it. Once you shatter an illusion, you can't piece it back together perfectly. So what's their response? They go on a rampage. They double down. They triple down. They quadruple down. They roar louder at everyone else. They become more aggressive with the people they can still control. They create chaos and drama to reassert dominance. But here's the thing, it's too much. It's overkill. It's obvious. People aren't just unafraid anymore. Now they see this person as unhinged, as desperate, as fraudulent. The overcompensation is exposing them even more than your presence did. Think of someone whose mask fell off in public, and now they're frantically trying to tape it back together while everyone watches. It's not working. It's making things worse. But they can't stop, because stopping means accepting that it's over. You destroyed their image. You crushed their carefully crafted persona. You exposed the gap between who they pretended to be and who they actually are. And that gap is so wide, so obvious, so undeniable that no amount of performance can close it now. In front of everyone, they had to show who they really are underneath the costume. A scared, powerless, fraudulent lamb. Now they're trying to terrorize everyone else to make up for it. Running down on the people who are still afraid, the people who haven't fully broken free yet. They're punishing them, controlling them harder, creating more fear to try to restore the status quo. But it's backfiring spectacularly, because people are making comparisons. They saw how this beast acted when you were in the room versus when you're not. They saw the difference. They felt the shift. They witnessed the transformation from beast to lamb and back to beast. And that inconsistency is creating doubt. If they were really that powerful, why did they fold when you showed up? If they're really that tough, why did their energy change completely in your presence? Their entire operation was based on keeping people afraid and separated. As long as people stayed isolated in their fear, they could control individuals. As long as no one compared notes or shared experiences, the manipulation could continue unchecked. But you changed that dynamic completely. Your presence gave people something they hadn't had before: hope, proof, evidence that the beast was just a costume, and that's contagious. When people see you unbothered by someone who terrifies them, they start wondering. When people watch you maintain peace in someone's chaos, they start questioning. When people observe you standing firm while someone's trying to roar you down, they start thinking maybe they could do that too. You're dangerous to this operation because you're a walking example of freedom. You're proof that their control is optional. You're evidence that their intimidation only works on people who accept it. And once people see that option, once they realize they have a choice, everything changes. The beast was feeding off fear energy. Like an ATM that only works when people are scared. They created chaos to keep people struggling. They manufactured drama to keep people distracted. They maintained confusion to keep people dependent on their version of reality. But you showed up and the ATM stopped working. People aren't as afraid anymore, aren't as confused anymore, aren't as controlled anymore, and that means they're losing their power supply. Their source is drying up like a river in drought. They're losing money, losing sleep, losing peace, losing their sense of identity, losing everything that made them feel valuable. Their pride is shattered, their ego is crushed, their self-esteem is demolished, their confidence is obliterated. All the things they used to derive worth from are gone, and that's creating a crisis they don't know how to handle. For years they built up this beast persona. They showed everyone they were someone to fear. They cultivated this reputation. They invested time, energy, and resources into making people believe in their untouchable status, and you destroyed it all in one moment, just by existing, just by being you. Someone will mention a completely unrelated topic, and somehow they find a way to circle back to you, to what you said, to what you did, to how you looked at them, to the energy you brought, and the people listening are starting to notice. Why are you talking about them so much? Why does this person who you claim doesn't matter keep showing up in every conversation? That obsession is becoming obvious. That fixation is becoming a problem, and it's making the beast look even smaller because everyone can see they're consumed by someone who barely thinks about them at all. You're out here living your life, thriving, glowing, moving forward. Meanwhile, they're stuck analyzing every move you make, every decision you announce, every success you achieve. They're watching from the shadows, trying to find something, anything they can use against you, trying to find a crack in your armor, trying to find evidence that you're not as solid as you appear. But they keep coming up empty, because what you have is real, what you carry is authentic, what you are cannot be undermined by observation or investigation, and that's driving them to madness, literal madness, because in their world, everyone has a weakness that can be exploited, everyone has a secret that can be exposed, everyone has a breaking point that can be found. But with you, none of their usual tactics are working. You're not hiding skeletons. You're not pretending to be something you're not. You're not maintaining a false image that can be shattered. You already walked through your transformation. You already faced your shadows. You already dealt with your demons. So when they go digging for dirt, all they find is a foundation of solid rock. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random. And if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. The beast is trying to recreate the roar in different ways. They're adapting, evolving their manipulation. If loud intimidation doesn't work on you, maybe subtle manipulation will. If direct confrontation doesn't shake you, maybe indirect sabotage will. They're trying every trick in the book because accepting defeat is not an option for them. Accepting that someone exists who they cannot control, cannot intimidate, cannot diminish, that acceptance would destroy their entire worldview. So they keep trying, keep scheming, keep plotting. They're exhausting themselves in the process while you're just existing in peace. But every attempt they make backfires. Every scheme they launch exposes them further. Every manipulation they try creates more distance between them and the people they're trying to control. It's like watching someone dig their own grave deeper with every shovel of dirt. You're not even fighting them. You're not even engaging with their tactics. You're just standing in your truth, and that alone is causing their entire empire to crumble from within. The lamb energy they were forced to show in your presence is spreading now. It's not just when you're in the room anymore. People who witness that moment are carrying that revelation with them. They're starting to test boundaries with this person. They're starting to question demands. They're starting to resist manipulation. Because they saw proof that this person isn't invincible. They watched the beast become a lamb right before their eyes, and now every time this person tries to roar at them, they remember that moment. They remember seeing the fear behind the facade. They remember witnessing the weakness underneath the aggression. You created a ripple effect that's still expanding, still growing, still touching people who weren't even in that original room, because people talk, stories spread, word gets around. And the story of how the beast became a lamb in your presence is a story people want to hear, need to hear, because it gives them hope. It shows them that the tyrants in their lives aren't as powerful as they pretend to be. It demonstrates that fear-based control only works as long as people accept it. They built their sense of self on being feared, on being respected through intimidation, on being obeyed without question. That was their value, that was their worth, that was their entire reason for existing in the social hierarchy they constructed. But you just proved that respect gained through fear isn't real respect. It's just compliance. It's just people doing what they have to do to survive the interaction. Real respect, the kind you command, comes from authenticity, from integrity, from being someone whose presence alone demands honor, not because of what you might do, but because of who you are. And this is breaking their understanding of reality. If they can't be the most feared, then who are they? If intimidation doesn't work, then what value do they have? If people stop complying out of fear, then what's their role? These questions are tearing them apart internally. They're having an existential crisis, wrapped in an identity crisis, wrapped in a psychological breakdown. You didn't even know you were doing it. That's the wildest part. You weren't strategizing, you weren't planning, you weren't preparing for battle. You just showed up as yourself, and that was revolutionary. That was world-changing. That was kingdom-shifting, because in a realm of performers, authenticity is a superpower. In a space full of people wearing masks, someone showing their real face is dangerous. In an environment built on lies, truth is explosive. Now let's talk about what's happening with the people who used to enable this beast, the ones who laughed at their cruel jokes, the ones who nodded along with their ridiculous demands, the ones who participated in making others feel small so they could feel protected. Those people are having a reckoning too, because they see what you did. They see that you didn't have to bow, scrape, or submit to be safe. You didn't have to participate in the cruelty to avoid becoming a target. You just existed in your power, and you were untouchable. And now they're questioning their own choices. Why did we go along with this? Why did we laugh? Why did we participate? Why didn't we stand up like that person did? Some of them are feeling shame. Some are feeling regret. Some are feeling anger at themselves for not having your courage. It wasn't about courage for you, it was about alignment. You weren't trying to be brave, you were just being true to yourself. You weren't attempting to make a stand, you were just refusing to compromise your frequency for someone else's performance. That's the difference between you and them. They were operating from fear, you were operating from truth, and truth always wins. Watch what happens in the coming season with these enablers. Some of them are going to flip. They're going to stop supporting the beast. They're going to start speaking up. They're going to start resisting. Because you showed them it's possible. You demonstrated that the beast is just a lamb in costume. And once they see that, they can't participate in the illusion anymore, at least not without feeling the weight of their own complicity. But some of them will double down. They'll cling even harder to the beast, because your example threatens their entire worldview. If they admit that the beast is fraudulent, then they have to admit they wasted time, energy, and integrity supporting a lie. That's too painful for some people to accept. So they'll fight harder to maintain the illusion. They'll attack you more viciously. They'll defend the beast more desperately. Not because they truly believe in the beast's power anymore, but because admitting they were wrong is too costly for their ego. Either way, you win. The ones who flip become allies in freedom. The ones who double down expose themselves as frauds too. Your presence is forcing everyone to choose authenticity or performance, truth or illusion, freedom or control, and there's no middle ground anymore. They're studying you, obsessively trying to find the source of your power. They're watching how you move, how you speak, how you carry yourself. They're trying to identify what makes you different, so they can copy it, so they can add it to their performance. But they're looking in the wrong places. They're analyzing external behaviors when your power comes from internal alignment. They're studying your actions when your strength comes from your essence. They're trying to mimic your presence when presence can't be manufactured. It's like someone trying to bottle sunlight. You can describe it, you can point at it, you can even create artificial light that looks similar, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't create the same response. Your power comes from being connected to Source, from being aligned with purpose, from being rooted in truth, and no amount of observation or imitation can replicate that. They could watch you for lifetimes and never understand how to do what you do, because what you do isn't a technique. It's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's a state of being. That's why their attempts to recreate your energy always fall flat. That's why when they try to copy your confidence, it comes across as arrogance. When they try to mirror your peace, it looks like indifference. When they try to duplicate your power, it manifests as aggression, because they're trying to perform an internal state, and you can't perform authenticity. You can't fake genuine. You can't manufacture real. Doors are opening for you that were never available to the beast, despite all their roaring and demanding. You're about to receive invitations to spaces they tried to enter and got rejected from. You're going to be offered positions they applied for and got denied. You're going to experience favor in places where they experienced resistance, and this is going to confuse them even more. How are you getting what I wanted? How are you accessing what I couldn't reach? How are you receiving what I was denied? The answer is simple, but they'll never accept it. You're getting those things because you carry a frequency that opens doors while their frequency closes them. You're receiving those opportunities because your energy attracts while theirs repels. You're experiencing that favor because you operate in truth, and truth creates supernatural alignment. The universe responds to vibration, the divine responds to authenticity, heaven responds to humility, and you have all three while they have none. This is going to make the obsession worse before it gets better. Every blessing you receive is going to feel like a personal attack to them. Every win you celebrate is going to register as their loss. Every door that opens for you is going to remind them of the doors that closed on them. And they're going to blame you for it. They're going to create narratives about how you stole their opportunities, how you manipulated people against them, how you sabotaged their success. When the truth is, you didn't do anything to them, you just stopped participating in their delusion. You just refused to bow to their false authority. You just existed in your authentic power, and that was enough to expose how hollow their empire really was. There's a broader pattern happening here that connects to everything you've experienced. Every beast you've encountered throughout your life, every person who tried to intimidate you, every force that attempted to control you, they were all preparing you for this moment. They were all training you to recognize the difference between real and fake power. They were all teaching you to trust your discernment over your eyes. They were all strengthening your ability to stand firm in your truth regardless of who's roaring in your face. You've been in training your whole life for this era you're entering. Every time someone underestimated you, that was preparation. Every time someone dismissed you, that was strengthening. Every time someone tried to make you small, that was fortifying your foundation, because you can't break someone who's been forged in fire. You can't intimidate someone who's already faced their fears. You can't manipulate someone who's already mastered their mind. The beast you just reduced to a lamb isn't the first and won't be the last, but each one teaches you something new about your power. Each encounter shows you another dimension of what you carry. Each confrontation reveals another layer of your authority, and you're building a resume of victories that even you don't fully comprehend yet. But the spiritual realm knows, the divine realm sees. The cosmic forces are aligning to support what you're becoming. You didn't make them look like a lamb to embarrass them. You didn't expose their weakness to humiliate them. You didn't dismantle their power to destroy them. All of that happened as a natural consequence of truth meeting lies. light meeting darkness, authenticity meeting performance. You weren't trying to do anything to them, you were just being yourself. And your genuine self was incompatible with their fraudulent self. That incompatibility created the exposure. That misalignment caused the revelation. That frequency difference produced the transformation from beast to lamb. When you walked into that room, when you made that beast become a lamb, you didn't just affect the dynamic between you and them. You defended people, you saved people, you freed people. There were individuals in that space who have been terrorized by this person for a long time. They've been bullied, been manipulated, been controlled. They'd accepted it as just how things are. This person is a beast, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. But then you showed up, and your presence alone created a shield. Your energy established a boundary. Your aura set a standard that said, not today. Imagine being one of those people, sitting there afraid, intimidated, waiting for the next roar, the next demand, the next humiliation. And then someone walks in who doesn't participate in that energy. Someone who doesn't shrink, doesn't submit. Someone who just exists in their power, and suddenly the beast can't beast anymore. That's hope, that's encouragement, that's inspiration. You showed them it's possible to be unmoved by intimidation. You demonstrated that fear is optional. Courageous, you proved that this person's control only works on people who accept it. You defended them without trying. You stood up for them without even knowing you were doing it, just by being there. Just by showing up authentically, just by refusing to play the game everyone else was forced to play. As we close this revelation, you need to understand what's coming. This next season is yours. This is your time. Everything has been preparing you for what's about to unfold. The beasts in your life are going to keep becoming lambs. That's just what happens when real power shows up. False power always crumbles, always, every single time without exception. Every fake king gets dethroned, every false authority gets exposed, every pretender gets revealed, and you're the catalyst, you're the light that exposes, you're the truth that reveals, not because you're trying to be, but because that's what authentic power does. It doesn't have to try to dismantle illusions, its presence automatically does it. You're going to keep rising, keep growing, keep transforming, and every step you take forward is going to make fraudulent people in your life more uncomfortable, because you're proof that everything they're doing is unnecessary. You're evidence that power doesn't require performance. Good things are going to flow to you, opportunities are going to find you, doors are going to open for you, not because you're chasing them, but because you're aligned, because you're authentic, because you're operating in your true frequency. And when you operate in truth, the universe conspires to support you. The divine moves on your behalf. Heaven backs you up. You're not fighting alone, not standing alone, not moving alone. You have angels assigned to you, spiritual forces working for you, divine authority operating through you. That's why the beast became a lamb, why the intimidation didn't work, why their tactics failed, because you're not just you, you're you plus heaven, you plus divine backing, you plus spiritual reinforcement, and that combination is unstoppable. So walk into this season with confidence, move with authority, speak with power, set boundaries without apology, honor yourself without explanation, be yourself without reservation. The world needs to see what real power looks like, and it looks like you, not the loud version, not the aggressive version, not the intimidating version, the authentic version, the grounded version, the aligned version. You made a beast look like a lamb, and that was just the beginning, just the introduction, just the preview. The main event is coming. The full demonstration is approaching. The complete revelation is on its way. And when people see what you're about to become, when they witness what you're about to do, when they experience what you're about to manifest, the whole world is going to know that chosen ones are real, that divine purpose is real, that authentic power is real. You're the proof, you're the evidence, you're the example. The beast became a lamb because the lion showed up, and you're the lion, the quiet, confident, majestic lion who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. The lion who knows their strength, understands their authority, and walks in their dominion without apology. That's who you are. That's what you carry. That's where you're going. And nothing and no one can stop what's coming for you. The beast couldn't stop it. The fear couldn't stop it. The manipulation couldn't stop it. The lies couldn't stop it. Your time is now. Your season is here. Your moment has arrived. Walk in your power, chosen one. The universe is waiting for you to fully step into who you were always meant to be.